All right. I am super excited today to be speaking with Erik Cutter of Alegria Fresh and the founder of Alegria Farmacy. Now, that's pharmacy with an F, not with a PH. So, a different kind of farm that is bringing us health and wellness and goodness. And today we're going to be talking about healing people, communities, and our planet by delivering zero waste, regenerative, organic, carbon negative food production systems to urban environments. Thank you so much, Erik, for joining us today.
Thank you, Valencia. It's a pleasure. And yeah, that sure is a mouthful, isn't it?
Yes, but you are doing so much. And, I've come to your farm and experienced it firsthand, but I wanted people to hear really about what you are doing. So, can you tell us a little bit about your farm and what it is about your farming methods that are climate friendly?
Sure. A lot of people may have seen the film The Need to Grow, which was started running about 3 or 4 years ago. And it showcased how we lost our farm, which was an Alegria Soxbox farm. It was the early time that we were starting to develop systems that were above ground. That old farm was using a sock material on the ground with 100% regenerative organic soil. Lost the farm, and backstory is um, I almost gave up. I didn't think people really cared. And about a half a year later, I woke up one morning and I said, "You better get your big boy pants back on because people do care." I had a few friends bugging me and saying, "What are you doing? Get out there and let's take a look at another type of farm." So that rang in my ears pretty hard. And I thought, well, what is another type of farm? What do we need? If we're going to really solve this problem, in other words, we have this big legacy load of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. If we're going to solve the problem, we can't just be carbon neutral and just continue to lower our carbon. We've got to start sequestering it. So I started thinking about all the things that it would take to build a farm that was primarily carbon negative. I mean, we're trying to be carbon managers, and we should be carbon managers first and foremost. And then I said, well, what else will do that? Be a big sequester, of course, soil, high biology living soil, which we've been using for years. And so I kind of ventured completely away from the hydroponic side, even though I was doing hydro organic farming. I said that still doesn't sequester enough carbon. And then the third thing was, well, what happens if we made it mobile? How would you scale it? And what is our land? I mean, if I keep getting pushed off of acres in Orange County that are worth $2 million an acre, what land is available? What does the future farm look like? Well, that one was a big one. I looked across the parking lot and we had about an acre and a half parking lot next to the farm. I said, there's your farm.
Wow.
So how do you grow over cement or asphalt for man-made purposes? And there's when the lights started going on. So we actually just basically took a proven system to Box Farm using our soil in a polypropylene sock from Filtrek called a garden sock, put it up in the air, and then we did one more thing. We started putting it on rolling casters. Therefore, we were tractorless. Now we're mobile. I mean, if a developer came in and wanted to develop the parking lot, we just roll our farm out and roll it somewhere else. But the real beauty that showed itself was not only did it work exceptionally well, but because of the food being up in the air, we were able to grow winter crops through very hot summer climates, the airflow and a bunch of other attributes that the Soxbox system has. And the last big piece was we learned by accident that we had created an organic system that was also using the best principles of hydroponic and aeroponic. And so we thought, wow, didn't expect that one. So fast forward to today, and we are overwhelmed and over our head with demand and starting to build farms on parking lots.
That's amazing. That is so amazing. And I remember coming up there and being amazed to see the kale growing in the middle of the summer, where I had tried to do that here in Southern California. And I was like, oh, mine just bolts and, I can't get anything out of it. And you have these big, luscious, you know, amounts of kale. But, and I asked you about it at that time, and you said it's because of the aeration. You're able to keep it cool because that's really a wintertime crop. And so it's amazing what you're able to do there.
Big one was is lettuces. We all have a big lack of high phytochemical brain eating food like fresh lettuce. And we grow a lot of fresh romaine. What was great is I was traveling in Missoula looking at another opportunity up there. Of course, I'm in they got their first snow when I was up there, and down here the temperature in Irvine was 114 degrees. My team wilted, people were wilting. We didn't lose one head of romaine, and that
Wow.
was phenomenal. We grow about 2,700 heads of romaine a month, and I thought, oh God, the farm is going to get toasted. And Team Alegria literally slugged it out. We cooled crops down every half hour to an hour, and I guess the plants didn't realize it was that hot. 125 degrees on the pavement, 114 air temperature.
Wow. Wow.
Every winter crops, including basil, survived. So we're pretty happy with the system right now, and we see a very resilient system that actually doesn't need to adapt. It does adapt as long as we keep it cool. So really amazing what we can do now with a system like that can grow winter crops straight through the summer.
That's incredible. And, talking about romaine and, what you can get at the supermarket, how does your food differ from when farmed in this method versus conventional agriculture and the things that we get at the supermarket?
Well, let's just up it another one. Let's say you're getting it at Whole Foods and it's 100% organic produce. The problem is it's traveled at least 2-3 days. That's not as fast as you can get it in a supermarket. More often than not, it's 4 to 5 days. Our system here has created another world first. We basically been working with a very forward-thinking CEO and visionary at the Second Harvest Food Bank named Harold Herman, and Bank of America has picked it up and supported us tremendously through Sherry Battle. That little team there has built a public-private partnership that has now decided that we need to start producing more ultra fresh, just harvested romaine lettuce because of its attributes. How fast we can get it to, for example, the OC Rescue Mission and Bracken's Kitchen. These are chefs that are actually preparing food directly for the most needy. So how it works is we have our Soxbox system on the parking lot at the food bank. We notify them the day before that we've got 1,000 heads of lettuce ready to go the next morning. We start harvesting at 6 a.m. They roll their refrigerator truck up at 7 a.m. We load it up. By 8 a.m., it's in the restaurant being worked on. So we've taken the time from harvest to consumption of our very superior nutrient-dense lettuce, which basically hardly knows it's been cut, in 1 hour, and it's in the restaurant. It's actually served, thousands of meals for lunches by 11 o'clock the same day. On your question regarding nutrient density and how does it differ, we just had it tested about 3 months ago, and we sent in dehydrated samples here to a very high-end third-party lab. They came back, and the first question on the call was, and I was waiting a month for the results, and I was kind of worried that we weren't hitting our markers. And first question was, do you think, Mr. Cutter, this produce has something to do with your soil? And I said, you think? I said, so tell me what's going on with this? What do we got? And he says, well, on average, you're 40% more nutrient dense, 125% more phytoactive than any product we've ever tested.
Wow.
I said, well, it sounds like grandma's food. And he says, exactly. And I said, you sent your dry samples. How does that differ on the wet samples you originally requested? He says, well, often you can double that. So we are potentially 80% more nutrient dense, 250% more phytoactive, which is very important, the phytoactivity side, as you well know. And so that is a game changer when it comes to brain health. So what we've done now with Second Harvest is we've said, fresh lettuce like this is incredibly difficult to get because it travels so far. Why not focus an entire part of our farm on getting fresh romaine into people that really need it? I mean, look at the brain healing that we can accomplish when lettuce is coming in after being harvested 1 hour and being served on a plate 4 hours, less than 4 hours later, at this quality level.
That's fantastic. So you're getting like the most nutrient dense food through these farming techniques, and you're delivering it to places where we've got these food deserts, unfortunately, in many of these urban environments. And I love that you're partnering with the food bank too, because most of these food banks, they rely on stuff that's shelf stable, right? So the people that utilize the food banks are generally in food deserts where they don't have access to these wonderful foods. And then the foods that they're given through food banks generally are shelf stable, so processed canned foods and boxed foods. They're not getting that phytonutrient density, which is, part of what I teach people, that importance of getting the fresh foods, getting the fresh foods actually fresh, not farmed, 3,000 miles away and then shipped for days, or, who knows how long before we actually get that food on our plate. And so that it's that phytonutrient density has really been diminished over time. The antioxidant capacity has been diminished. So this is amazing what you are bringing.
Look at enzymes. Nobody really talks about enzymes. They drive all the catalytic, reactions in our body, and we basically are not eating enzymes anymore. As we age, you well know, we start needing to consume more enzymes, and then if you really want to get deep on it and get to the nano level, let's start looking at the biophotonic light energy in food. I mean, we are creatures of light. We are, a plasma light show inside. Our cells exchange 100,000 photons a second. So really, that's outside the cell too. We don't talk about what's going on in between cells. We usually talk about what's going on inside them. So my big quest is to find how can we even enhance the nutrient density, the phytoactivity, and the biophotonic energy of food. Another step by looking at our mineralization technique for soil. In other words, how do you consume more light? I mean, fresh food is full of light. So our new slogan is going to be "Got light."
Exactly. You're just taking farming to a whole new level, and regenerative farming, now more people are finding out about it, but how does your method differ from other regenerative farming types?
That's a great question. We need every regenerative farmer on the planet right now to come together and continue to sequester carbon over great swaths of Earth, because, as you know, we are still going the wrong direction. Too much carbon's going into the air and too little is going into the ground. Um, our technique is really focused and differentiated because it's an urban regenerative organic technique. We're tractorless farmers. We actually start out with 100% organic inputs. We are so lucky to be partnered with Kellogg, the one of the few companies in the country that is making 100% organic soil. They do all of our blending, and they have been so gracious. Kathy Kellogg is bending over backwards, even though she has no time whatsoever, to help put together the Alegria Living Soil Blend. And that is a blend that is bumped with a lot of beautiful minerals such as Montana Grow, which is silicon dioxide, Montmorillonite from Window Peak Minerals in Utah. These are highly biovolcanic minerals that are missing in a lot of soils. So we bump that with quite a few things, some rock phosphates, of course, our own castings. And what we end up with is a really highly mineralized, highly biologically rich soil blend. So minerals plus microbes equals get out of the plants. They know what to do. And that's where we're really finding some traction. So put that beautiful soil into a sock, which takes out the biggest problem that most people have, and that is finding a good soil that has enough fuel, I call it, in the gas tank. In other words, enough minerals and balanced minerals in the right ratios and enough microbes to drive a 3 to 4 month growing process. So really, we've stopped worrying about plants. I look at plants, I see what they're doing. I kind of probably do talk to them once in a while. I'm a little bit nerdy on that one. I can see exactly what they need generally in the way of minerals. And we really don't look at the plants as much as we figure out, excuse me, how do we feed the soil? And that's really the big deal. How do we feed soil so that it not only creates optimized genetics in plants, but it also enhances the drawdown of carbon dioxide from the air in the most optimized way possible. So that's where we say that human health equals soil health, equals environmental health. If we follow those practices, regenerative practices are all about soil first, then it's about farm worker rights, and then it's about animal welfare. Now, we don't do a lot with animals over pavement. We do have chickens at the Farm Plus Food Lab in Irvine, which is our partner, and where we have our R&D lab. The Alegria Soxbox farm is located there. We have 12 beautiful hens there, and of course, I have 4 in my house. So we do involve chickens wherever we can, but in general, we're urban regenerative organic farmers, and that's the big difference.
Great. So I mean, not only are you producing amazing food, but you're contributing to climate solutions by helping draw down that carbon into the soil and ultimately into the plants as well. And you're also helping reduce the climate burden by reducing shipping, the transport of the food. Plus, you're providing food in food deserts and then the ability to provide jobs in that area as well.
Right. Well, if you look at another thing, we were carbon neutral until we teamed up with Impact Bioenergy up in Seattle. My favorite Dutchman, Jan Allen, the CEO of that company, has patented a micro anaerobic digester. And we're using what's called the Horse AD25. And there's a video out on that we just launched. Show how we now can integrate all these processes into what we call the Alegria Farmacy. Farmacy, Farmacy, is basically an integration of four major pillars. You add the solar and the battery storage, it's got 6. But adding an anaerobic digester gives us methane and food grade fertilizers that come off our farm. So there's our zero waste carbon negative. We actually have 10 kW of solar power up on our pharmacy on top of the shipping containers. We have a full battery storage backup system from Simplify. So American-made Helion PV panels simplifies leading-edge battery storage. Impact Bioenergy's AD25 anaerobic digester, the Alegria Soxbox system, a gross band green. There it is, zero waste, organic, carbon negative food production system that you can plop on any parking lot, and it's mobile and scalable. Nothing, you don't have to put a post in. I mean, it's a system that we finally, I think we broke the code on this one because it utilizes 100% existing proven technologies. We're not recreating the wheel, we're just reintegrating what we put into the wheel. And now we're working with major Orange County to launch the first Alegria Farmacy, which we hope will be in place somewhere around December, January of this year, so that people can actually touch and feel it.
Wow. So bringing it all together in a total system. And what goes into the biodigester? What do you feed it?
We would like to always feed it organic inputs. So anything organic can go into it. We would like it to be certified organic so that we're not dealing with any pesticide, herbicide, or pharmaceutical loads, which are very difficult to get out. And so we're sizing the digester right now. It fits in a 20-foot shipping container. And what it does is, I mean, you can put 1,500 pounds of organics in it, and it spits out a bunch of methane and a bunch of food grade organic fertilizer. That fertilizer can be poured on our crops as circular fertilizer. It basically is waste from our crops that we can't sell, bad leaves, this and that. We can also, if we don't have enough organic inputs from our farm, which we have very little because we are harvesting it at just-in-time rates. So we may have two leaves that are not good on a head of lettuce. So we don't create much waste off our farm. So we can go right next door to the food bank and say, hey, about 1,500 pounds a week of your good organics, and we'll turn that now into bird grade fertilizer. And then if we don't have enough room for that 150 to 200 gallons of fertilizer every week, we can walk over to our Farm Plus Food Lab. We have an acre and a half over there, and start pouring it on our trees. So really, carbon, the way we're seeing it, it doesn't move off the pharmacy, and if it has to move off the pharmacy, it might move 1 mile. So we're keeping carbon where it originates and putting it where it's needed. I think that's
Can you repeat what you just last said? I didn't hear what you just said.
We are keeping we're really looking at carbon management as one of our priorities. We are keeping carbon where it originates, if at all possible, and if we have to transport it, it goes 1 mile away. So we're moving it as short a distance as possible. Wherever we put it, it's actually going straight back into enhancing soils.
That's great because, really, this is all a closed system. We think about things moving around as if we can get rid of them, but our Earth, our ecosystem is a closed system. And so, carbon and water and nitrogen and phosphorus, all of that is being recycled in some way, but it's a matter of where it is. It needs to be in the right place. And nature created this system, very intelligently. And, us humans, I think we've dismantled that to some extent. And now we are facing the consequences of that. So being able to put things back in the place where they are intended, and so that then they can be properly utilized and provide us with, this amazing organic, wonderful taste. I mean, this is the best food I've ever tasted. It's so fresh and wonderful. I always love coming up to visit your farm because it's just such an amazing experience. But
You have to
that is
be,
fantastic.
nature doesn't waste anything. The
Yeah.
biomass is part of our strategy. And when you look at this, on a side note, we're creating a movie called The Pharmacy of Light, which the Earth is the greatest pharmacy of light. And so, what we want to try to do is to tell people that it is possible to rethink agriculture. So, let's take a look at some of the things that people have done extremely well, like develop all these technologies that handles carbon properly. And so, I'm extremely optimistic that people with this problem, and my greatest legacy would be to help change the conversation and so that we already have the technologies. And the Alegria Pharmacy is a solution. I mean, if you go to our Instagram site at Alegria Farms, you'll see that we're actually touting it as a solution. We don't have to go past this right now. We just need to build thousands of them, and they work. So it's not rocket science any longer. We have incredible solutions. All we have to do is rethink it a little bit and start deploying some of this great technology that already exists. That's really our mantra is, you know, create the wheel. Let's
That's
start
that's great.
doing what it does, follow her as fast as we can. Does it right.
And what's the next step? What's your vision for the Farmer Chef Physician project?
Well, we started thinking about it, and thanks to you on this too, we were brainstorming, if you recall. How do we integrate messaging? You know, a lot of people talk to a farmer, a lot of people talk to a chef, a lot of people talk to their physician about what do I need to eat? What's good for me? And so all of a sudden the idea dawned on me, why don't we put them all together? And for every pharmacy, which is a playoff on course PHAR, pharmacy is a place now where you have ultra locally grown food. It's never listed until you point at it. We actually have developed a point and pick farmers market. And we have a teaching kitchen called the Table on the Farm. We're not farm to table, you know, like Santiago to Los Angeles is considered farm to table if you're putting it on a table in Los Angeles. The food travels 5,000 miles, and people want to call that farm to table. We're table on the farm. Our farm is right next to our table. In fact, you're looking through a polycarbonate greenhouse at the farm, and it's being harvested, on your plate. Uh, we've selected, obviously, proud to have you on board because I consider you one of the most accomplished and I great musicians out there. And we've got another great chef, Logan, who is probably the best vegan chef on the planet that nobody really knows yet, except in Michigan, occasionally out there. And he tells me as the farmer to anchor it. So the idea would be to incorporate more farmer chef physician combinations around the country and actually have them representing pharmacies so that people would have a reliable and consistent voice that can show them really what do you need to eat? What's antiviral food? How does that affect in my food? How is it grown? All those questions. And three of us have developed that scene. So go to farmerchefphysician.com and you can see the beginning of that. And we're going to be coming after you here pretty soon for some podcasts. You can be sure.
Yeah, it's my goal, my vision to be able to prescribe people healing foods. I mean, that's what I do in my practice. I prescribe them healing foods, but then to be able to prescribe a whole system where not only are they helping to heal themselves, but they're also helping to heal their local communities and also the planet. Like, wow, the potential there is immense. And we will all benefit from that, which is
Well,
why I'm so excited to join this project.
yeah, the future of nutrition might be restricted to these foods where someone walks in with diabetes and they say, "What do I eat?" And we take them next door and say, "Here's 10 things on diabetes on a scale in about 12 days. So you've got to adhere to this." So, primarily, well, in that case, a 100% plant-based diet. We've actually gotten rid of all insulin usage up to 25 units a 2 weeks. So for us and patients, because I'm a biochemist oncologist by training, but I don't have any MDs or anything like that. I'm probably a PMD, a plant medical doctor at best. But we've seen that when we start pushing people into nutrient dense foods, changing their diet from high bad fat, high salt, high processed food diets, diabetes is gone within 12 days. And that blew my mind. That happened 5 years ago with a couple of people. We have that on video where they came back to me and said that. So there was a lot of lights going on back then that we can actually change most of the autoimmune problems on our planet by having this kind of food available, which is really where we're at now, creating more access to this kind of food.
That's amazing. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we could install this on the rooftops of our hospitals or our hospital parking lots?
Yeah, that is what's happening. By the way, you just hit on something that is we are talking to many people across the country right now about doing just that.
All right. Tell me also, what is Farm Box?
So we figured that if we offered what we call box, FARMBOXX, we could put 20 to 30 items into a CSA type delivery weekly that would represent what we feel is the most gut, heart, and brain healthy food. So we've actually achieved 30 plus cultivars in our weekly farm box, which is sold through the Second Harvest Food Bank and also through the Farm Plus Food Lab at Alegria Farm Box, Alegra Farmbox, XX.com. And we've actually cracked another code there. We're able to get 30 plus super nutrient dense greens, herbs, medicinal flowers in one box and get it to you so that you can actually create the most diverse salad you've ever experienced. We've had people say when they open up the box, their entire kitchen, goes off with all these different smells. And we said, well, that's what it's supposed to do. That's what food is supposed to smell like. And we don't realize that because you're eating old food. And it doesn't matter if it was conventionally grown or organically grown, it's old. And so it's obviously losing a lot of its terpenes and a lot of the, high power organic acids and everything else in it, the phytochemicals that are required for ultimate health. So our farm box is actually harvested on Fridays at the food bank, loaded on, finished boxing by 8:30, 9 o'clock, and actually out, and it's on your door within 6 hours. That's another world first that we're able to accomplish. And that's 30 to 35 different cultivars in a single box delivered to your door within 6 hours of harvest.
Super cool. Where is that available?
Within a 15-mile radius right in Irvine. So we are actually limiting the distance it travels. We're hoping to install pharmacies in North County and all over Southern California before we start heading east. We have a ton of inquiries. So we're going to try to take care of our backyard first and demonstrate it and prove to everybody that this is all actually a solution, and it is being done, and it's not a theory any longer. So 3 or 4 months from now, we may be doing something in North County.
Amazing. You're just doing great work. Any last comments that you'd like to make?
Well, I would invite everybody to join us to become nutrition farmers and or carbon farmers. They really are interchangeable. I want to appreciate everybody out there that has taken a new look at food as medicine, because as one of these highly studied plant medical doctors, I call myself a PMD. By the way, that's what we're trying to create on our farm. Is every one of our farmers, we want them to become a PMD. Um, we want to show you that you can create tremendous resilience and increase your adaptability, so that these types of viruses, for example, and these types of threats that are always been in our system and will always be there, don't affect you, or at least they don't affect you to the point where they kill you. So I'm unfortunately feeling that the greatest national security threat in our country is our nutrition deficiency. I think the United States has become the sickest first world country in the world, actually. That's why we're seeing such death from a pandemic, a virus that's a long time. Over 17,000 viruses that are high quality since 1976. We've only heard of 4. This one here is really racking a high percentage of our older citizens, even some young ones, because our bodies are no longer resilient. We've spent 30 years eating fast foods and bought cheap food. Well, cheap food is cheap food. So my greatest goal is, how do we change what I call our disease care system in terms of true healthcare? Through your efforts, through our farmers, through our chefs, I believe, and that's where farmer chef physician really comes to light. I really believe that we can start making roads and convince people that they've got to start eating differently, and they've got to source their food from different places if they really want to heal themselves. Again, Valencia, I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you more than you know, and can't wait to look for, to first podcast where I'm on the other side interviewing you.
Right on. Well, I couldn't agree with you more. What I've seen is that people consuming what we call the standard American diet, which is unhealthy, high fat, high carb foods, tend to get the standard American diseases, which unfortunately is obesity, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and now, these rising rates of autoimmune illness and other things. So we've unfortunately set ourselves up. We are a nation of people who were overfed but undernourished. So I'm so excited about the opportunity that you are bringing to people to increase their nourishment. I mean, the fact that your food is so much more nutrient dense is just amazing. And I look forward to seeing your work spread throughout, because I think this is a wonderful solution to so many of our problems. And I love, getting the most bang out of your buck, and I think you've got it. So how can people find out more about your work and what you're doing? Where should they go?
Well, we've got a bunch of websites, but YouTube at Alegria Farms, at Facebook at Alegria Fresh. Those are probably 2 of the big ones. Instagram at Alegria Farms. Our primary website is alegriafresh.com. That's ALEGRIA fresh.com. If you want to see the food production system, that would be the Alegria Farmacy. So Alegria Farmacy, FARMACY.com. And we're just launching a residential home gardening system we call it a mini socks box internally. But keep your eye on soxbox.com, SOXXBOXX.com, and you'll see how you can get involved using our soils and our soxbox systems on your own decks. So thank you to everybody, and you especially, for taking the time. And let's all keep growing. You can be sure that Team Alegria is passionate enough. We're not going anywhere, so we'll keep pushing the end as long as everybody will keep listening. Thank
Great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this conversation today. I was really inspired to speak with Erik about his work because I'm so excited about it, but also because of my involvement with the Climate Reality Project, which is spreading the information about our climate challenges as well as climate solutions. So if you are catching this prior to October 16th, please go to 24hoursofreality.org so that you can input your information and have a tree planted somewhere near you. And please look for more information at the Climate Reality Project. Thank you. Have a great day.